Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to the eastern wing of the Stink Bug Works. Before you is a 3D printed model of what is approximately a 1/16th scale modern hydroplane. During the Great Purge, I gave a haul to one of my viewers, and in response, he printed this out and sent it to me. Now, this is from files that are readily available online. And while at first glance it looks uber cool, let's take a look at some of it. There's mount for a rudder, or mount for a strut, mount for a rudder. Looks like a push rod exit there. This piece is removed so you can get at this screw that mounts the wing. Like I said, looks like push rod goes through there. There's an included motor mount, and an included rear support, and it looks like it's for a 28 or 29 millimeter motor. And get a load of this. There's holes through the members so that you can run a carbon fiber tube and get some strength between the individual parts rather than just relying on gluing them. Now, my plan for this was actually to use it as a plug for a mold. And why a 3D printed part is so good is that I know this as it is an exact mirror image of that and everything all along, and I know everything's symmetric and all the curves are right because it's all done in CAD. The problem is, and it may be insurmountable, I'm not sure. The problem is, whoever worked up this CAD design and these STL files really didn't know about hydroplane design. And I'll show you. Here's the dead giveaway. The most important part on a hydroplane is right here. And this one would be better than you. Look what we have here. Rather than a flat ride surface, we have a curved surface with a spray rail. And another curved surface and another spray rail. And it ends in a nice, gentle, smooth curve going up there. What's the worst thing you can have on the trailing edge of a ride surface on a hydroplane? A nice, smooth curve for the water to stick to, and rather than this thing skim across the water, it'll get sucked down into it. So that would have to be modified. And when I first saw the design, I think I saw it on Shapeways years ago. Had a different center section. But when I first saw it, I said, that could probably be, hacked away with a saw and, pieces of flat G10 glued in. Because remember, it's a plug, so we're not looking for any sort of structural rigidity or good looks. We're looking for smooth surfaces. So I thought about doing that, but the sponsons are so deep, I kind of wondered if that's just way too deep. The angles, that looks like about 4 degrees. It doesn't look anything out of the ordinary, so that might be pretty close to being right. But what I did was I went online and I found STL files, the files that 3D printers use to print from. I found STL files for the Atlas, and they look pretty good. I don't think they have the little 57 T-bird fins on it, but I could easily add those with, some G10. So I actually had to purchase these STL files, and let me tell you, they were embarrassingly cheap. Just embarrassingly cheap. One figure. It was $5. I'll give you $5 for a good set of files. Hell yeah. When I think of how many hundreds of hours I have into the 1/20th kits, we're going to go to the Southern Wing. I'm going to talk about that and the little yellow cat in a while. I lost my train of thought. So anyway, at first, I thought this might be a good object to pull a plug from, because it's kind of a fun-looking little boat. It's got that look. I'm not trying to look like a scale boat. I'm trying to look like a fast electric boat kind of look to it. It's utilitarian. It looks like it's designed to go, but when I see a little downturn here at the end, I think, do I really want that? Do I really want that? And when I see a sponson design like this, I go, no, I don't really want that. I don't really want that. I want conventional thinking. Anyway, so I've sent those STL files to my viewer, and we'll see if he wants to plot them up, how they look, and we'll go from there. Who knows? Maybe Dr. Jet will have a 1/16th scale fiberglass hydroplane available. Wouldn't that be cool? It's the right size. Speaking of size, Big B, wow, what a monster. Big B has a big boat. Wow, ultra cool boat. Sorry the postman screwed it up, but I guess it was kind of good for Big B. Being Big B, I would go with the biggest, hottest power system you can. Remember, if you want speed, speed doesn't come cheap. Speed doesn't come cheap. Do a good build on it. I think you'll have something that will just turn everybody's head. That thing is cool. Okay, I'm going to jet out for a while, and I'll meet you over on the Southern Wing. Okay, boys and girls, welcome back. In front of me, I have batteries, motors, speed controls, servos, hardware, and drawings of motors. What might I be doing? You think I'm working out the balance of this thing? Why, that's about right. This piece of tape right here is the back edge of the piece of tape is 30% the hull length. The front edge of the tape is 35% of the hull length from there to there. I want it to balance somewhere on that piece of tape, and then I can make minor adjustments after that. But I want the basic balance to be somewhere in that range. So to that end, I took this tape and I taped this where it would go, and I shoved this where it would go, and I picked a battery and put it where it would go. And lo and behold, things are going to have to move this way a little bit. And I really don't want to move the motor too far that way because I set the angle of dangle, and the further I go this way, the more it forces me into an S bend, where up here I could just have a nice flat curve. So I would prefer to have the motor, up about here at best, somewhere in there. That way I have room in here for a battery. Then came to working up a speed controls. And there's a flood chamber on this side in here, and all this in here is just hollow. And I'm thinking, oh, that would be a great place for the speed control. So first I looked at the Sea King 40. It was just a little bit too tall to squeeze in there. So I took a look at the Shark 60. Now maybe I have a Shark 40 or a Shark 30 somewhere in there. I'll have to look. But I tried this, and there's a high spot here where there's a black box inside, and where all these wires come out, it was just too thick to get in there. I thought about a Dynamite 30. Dynamite 30 might be a good speed control for this thing. But again, it's just a little bit too tall. Now, I'm going to tell you why I really like a particular speed control. It's kind of my favorite speed control. And it might be overkill for this, but there, stuffed in here already, you can see the motor and lead wires coming out. What do you suppose I have in there? Oh, did I tape it? Lo and behold, the Sea King 120 is thinner than everything out here. This thing will just slip right in there. Oh, got to get that wire out of the way. But it just slips right in there. None of these will do it. One reason I really like this speed control, it will fit where others don't. I like that it works, too. It's reliable. You don't have to go through some stupid throttle calibration every time you fire it up. Some of the cheap speed controls do that. So it's looking like I'm going to run these 2200s all the way back here. I'll have the speed control all the way back as far as it can go. I'll have the servo kind of wedged into the side, so the battery's going to have to slide under the servo linkage. I'll see if I can't raise the servo linkage, but I'm kind of limited as to where this will be. So we'll have to take a look at that. But I'm thinking that's my general layout, and that way I can get the motor, about here. In doing so, I'm still a bit nose heavy, and that's where I have an idea. So I'm going to have this hanging off the back, and I'm going to make some sort of dummy motor. This photo is a bit too large by, maybe 5%, maybe 10%, but I'm going to do something that has an overall look of this, or you know, kind of like that. But I'm going to have some sort of arrangement. And remember, I talked about having this thing rotate. And, you know, these motors actually rotate about this point right here. I got to make sure it won't crash with the back wall. So I'll come up with some sort of thing. But remember the other day I was talking about utilizing this space and getting a shaft up here. Well, all that adds a bit of weight. And quite frankly, I might actually need a bit of weight. And why not do something that's functional with this extra weight rather than just add a blob of lead, put something on. So my plan for the upper part of this thing would just be a central plywood frame with lightning holes, and then either foam or light balsa bonded to the sides, sanded, and then, you know, like 3/4 ounce glass cloth over the whole thing and paint it. And so it would look cool. It would add the little bit of weight I needed. And here's the deal. I started to talk about this the other day and I got sidetracked. When you have those outboard units with the motor up here, you got all that weight way up high. And when you're trying to do self-righting, when this thing's upside down, the last thing you want is a lot of weight underwater. So you want your weight as close to the water surface as is possible. You ever seen a guy do an Eskimo roll in a kayak? What he does is he's sitting in the kayak like this, and he'll lean way back like this to get his weight low, and then he can do the roll. He never does the roll sitting up like this. He'll lean way back to get that weight down so it will roll. So that's one of the reasons I'm not going to do one of those outboards. I looked again at the little TFL one that's coming out. It might work. It'll be a little bit big for this scale, but it might work. Everything said, I'm going to do this a lightweight, fun runner. I'm not going to make it so stupid fast that it's blowing off all the time. Just something to buzz holes around the lake, you know. This is not being built for speed, although 120 amp speed control, or rather, well, these aren't that expensive, but they're not that cheap. Hell, this costs more than the hull did. So that's my plan there. You know, have a, what do you guys think, huh? Now, a 52-inch boat, that's badass, but that ain't too bad either, you know? Actually, that motor's almost the right size. Just a tiny bit smaller. But we're looking pretty cool, huh? Okay, now, one final thing. And I'm going to let this echo through these videos for a week or two, but I am going to do another run of kits. Now, I was talking to one of my viewers, and he builds model railroads, and you know how railroad modelers get way into detail. Well, he gets way into detail, and he even did a laser cut caboose kit, and he showed me the kit after it was built, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm looking at the trucks on the thing, and I thought it was a real caboose, and oh no, this has got to be fake. But here's the deal. He builds them in 1/32 scale. So think about that. A locomotive is what? 64 feet long? 1/32 scale means that sucker is 2 feet long, give or take. But, the locomotive itself is 2 feet long, and he uses live steam. That's cool. Freaking, my uncle, when I was a kid growing up, my uncle had more money than God. I'll tell you the story about it someday. But he had a ranch, and on his ranch, he had a 1/8 scale railroad. And he had 3 miles of track. And he would take his 1/8 scale steam railroad, steam engine with all the little levers and such. The only thing he couldn't get was the gauges, but he had all the little levers and knobs and wheels and all that to run this thing. And he would sit on the coal car. He had a special coal car with a seat on it. But he would drive his 1/8 scale. Now, this thing was, oh, God, it was 8 to 10 feet long. It was huge, and it was a big one. It had like six driving wheels, 3 and 3 with 2 in the front and two in the back. It was a big locomotive, and it took like 8 guys to lift it from the track up onto the workbench. He had a special work stand, and it literally took 8 guys. So I'm impressed with model railroaders. Those guys just go over the top. So why I brought him up was he talked about the cowl and such on my kits, and maybe I wasn't entirely clear when I talked to him. Originally, the first run of kits were complete. I mean, I gave you every last nut, screw, and bolt you needed, everything except the paint and glue and finishing materials. Subsequent to that, because that was such a pain in the rear end, sourcing all the parts, and I was paying retail on the parts and just, passing the price through. As a result, the kits weren't really cheap, and people shied away from them. So I did the next best thing. I made short kits. I took all the complicated, intricate little plywood bits, and I laser cut those, and then the easy to cut balsa bits that you could cut with a straight edge, and the occasional circular curve. You can fabricate if you can build a boat, you can cut balsa. Trust me. So the kits I'm selling today and from here on are short kits. You only get the intricate plywood parts. I'll give you templates for all the other parts you've got to cut out, but the only thing in the kit is the plywood parts and the instructions, and I email you the instructions and the drawings. On the drawings, I give you a scale marker, so if you print them out and it's not to scale, you can go into your printer settings and you can work out, print this at 98% or print this at 102%. If that doesn't work for you, take it over to Kinko's and tell them you want it printed to where this 6-inch marker is exactly 6 inches. So that's what you get. So the deal is, I'm gonna pimp this for a week or so, that I will be making a production line of kits. Now the question is, how many Atlas kits should I make? How many short circuit kits should I make? So, those of you that have been asking for the 1/20th hydro kits, somehow get in touch with me. Let me know which model and how many, and I will cut some plywood. Until then, boys and girls, jet out. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, bulletin, bulletin, bulletin. A Shark 30 fits in there as well. Maybe, I don't know, I might even have a Shark 40. I'll have to look. But 30 amps should be more than enough for this little guy. This is a 400 watt motor on 3S's 11 volts. So that's, 40 amps. I might have to look at a Shark 40. But the Shark 30 does fit in there. Of course, it's only got 1/4 the amp rating of the 120. But maybe a Shark 40 will be the ultimate speed control for this. Until then, jet out.